Hello, everybody. Welcome to another video from the Power Bomb Project. I am one of your hosts, Daniel, joined by my other two hosts.
Yes, Berman.
Hey, Chris.
So, today we're doing our retro review of the month, and this month we're reviewing Berman's Choice, which was NXT Takeover Chicago from 2017, not 2018, 2017. So, this featured 5 matches, the typical amount for an NXT Takeover, and I gotta say, I thought it was a great show. It's a great show to look back on, and it's probably one of the better NXT takeovers. I mean, all the NXT takeovers, well, not all, but almost all of them are great. And this one kind of lives up to that status quo. You know, it hits that standard that we all look forward to in an NXT takeover. So, before we dive into these matches, what are your general thoughts, Berman and Chris?
Well, I really did like the match. When I watched it first, I was excited because most of these matches were so interesting. And one of the best matches of the night is two, and probably one of the best matches of that year is the second match up. And I still loved every match, and that the ending was just too perfect too.
And I'm with Berman too, with the exception of there was like 2 matches that were pretty solid, but the endings were pretty dumb in retrospect. But I'll get to it once we actually cover them, because it was just a dumb way to end some of these matches, and I'm like, why? Why would anybody do that? But it's like whatever. We'll get to it when we get to it.
Okay. So, without further ado, let's dive in. The first match on this show is Roderick Strong versus Eric Young, the leader of Sanity. Now, I thought this match was decent. I can't really complain. You get some nice back and forth action here, but nothing too crazy or memorable. The finish of this match is when Roderick Strong does that suplex backbreaker. Then that's like the first time he does it in NXT. So I don't know if that's something he did in ROH, but the crowd genuinely popped for it. It was the debut of a new finisher in NXT for him.
Yeah.
So that was pretty dope, and that was a good way to end the match. And yeah, I can't really complain too much. Overall, I would have to give it a 6.5 out of 10. Just an overall decent way to kick off the show.
Yeah, to me it was interesting, and I probably and the thing that I really like is that you don't expect him to win sometimes too because there was 3 against 1, so you kind of don't expect him to win. But it was interesting to show him like winning. He had some great performances, and I gotta say, it's kind of sucky too is that his music was originally great. They kind of made his music a little weird at the end, but I think his music when he was just regular Roderick Strong in this point of era was really great. Everyone pops for it, everything. That finisher was one of the biggest finishers too. It's the name is End of Heartache, which is a nice name. I like that. But I think the match was actually really good. Everyone was probably surprised to see that Eric actually won. Sorry, Roderick. I expect won because I thought people thought Eric was going to win because of the whole uh, 3 against 1 stuff. So for me, I would actually give it a 7.
And I'll give it a 6 too, because like it wasn't bad necessarily, but again, it's just an opener match that I don't expect anything too crazy. I'm not familiar with both of these guys, but it was a good impression. I really thought that Roderick was gonna lose due to like Eric Young's little clan he has on the side. I'm like, oh, this is just gonna be a fucking squash all over again. I've seen this 1,000 times, but no. Roderick Strong ended up coming on top. He introduced that new finisher, and it was overall a pretty solid match. So I'll give it like a 6. It was decent. It got me excited for the pay per view. So there you have it.
Okay. Now we get to my personal match of the night, the NXT UK Championship match. It is the champion Tyler Bate going up against Pete Dunne. So at the time, some people were calling it a classic, and other people were like, "It's not a classic. There's not a story to it." Yeah, there was. So when you think about it, they both debuted through the NXT UK Championship tournament. They both went to the finals, and before the match, Pete Dunne attacked Tyler Bate and tried to take him out so he would win the NXT UK title by default so he wouldn't have to fight him. But Tyler Bate had enough heart to go ahead, not only fight Pete Dunne, but also defeat him to become the first ever NXT UK champion. Pete Dunne was angry, he was vengeful, so he racked up a winning streak to be able to get a rematch against Tyler Bate here. It's not a grand and great story, but you don't need that for every single fucking match to have a fantastic match. You can have something simple and make it work, and that's exactly what this did here. And yeah, This is just fantastic from start to finish. Am I going to give it a 10 out of 10? No, but I'll give it a 9.5 out of 10. This is my match of the night. I thought it was fantastic. Pete Dunne getting the win here was the right decision, and he went on to have a phenomenal, and I mean a phenomenal, NXT UK Championship run. So I was not mad one bit. I kind of originally at the time thought Pete Dunne should have won the entire tournament, but the more and more I grew up, I realized, Tyler Bate was the right decision, and giving it to Pete Dunne in the second match was actually the right way to go about it. So I'm not mad about this one bit. And overall, I thought it was just really fantastic. Once again, 9.5 out of 10.
Yeah, for me, this was a great, probably definitely would say the match of the night, and it was the match of the year because they got awards for it too. But it was funny to me, and it was just because of that start. It was very funny when I think it was Jim Ross saying it too. Is it? Yeah, now he's 20, and I checked his ID at the door. And I'm like, it was very funny that he said that to me because it's like he looks too young, but he just checked his card like he's drinking alcohol or something. So it was very funny. I think it was a funny kind of start, and then the match was amazing. Everything they did was great. They did a great job. Everyone, some of the most like amazing moves you would see. So it was awesome to see these matches again, and I rewatched them because I was always loved these two, and they always killed it. And anytime they fought against each other or fought anyone else, it was awesome to me. So definitely, I would say 9.5 for me.
Man, I'm the
And
same.
one
Oh,
thing,
sorry. Oh, you good?
sorry, a quick.
Sorry, you're fine. Go ahead, Daniel.
One thing I'd like to add on. This is kind of a sad part of the review here, but I think it was literally only a few weeks before this, Jim Ross's wife passed away, and he had the courage to still go out commentate this match, and still to this day, I could tell. I won't say I could tell Jim Ross is affected by it, but he still kind of has tweets about missing her. And of course, that's your wife. Everyone would miss their wife for many, many years. I get it, man. I get it. So, rest in peace to his wife. And, it was just really cool to see him come out and commentate for this match in a rare case scenario. I thought that was really nice.
And it just adds to the credibility of this match because I think initially when I first started watching wrestling, I hated the technical style so much, but now that I've grown and watched many other matches from different companies, this is a great example of Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne. Too bad they changed the name to Butch. Whoops, and the new Raw. So hopefully they eventually does changes. The match itself, it's a technical masterpiece. There's not much I can say. I'm just gonna give it like a 10. Just go ahead and watch it. It's phenomenal, and it's kind of cool knowing that. Well, we had a discussion before the recording that Tyler Bate kind of went off to become the UK champion, right? And further his career.
He went on to win it again, and he was the first UK champion and also the last UK champion. So NXT UK, ironically, ended the way it began.
So if these two ever meet again in a big pay-per-view, hopefully Pete Dunne returns to his surname and not become Butch all over again because that's really stupid.
We need to run a Tyler Bate, Pete Dunne, and Gunther triple threat. It's very necessary for the culture.
And
very necessary.
And to add on top of it, they can only do slap chops. They can only do slap chops. That's the only way we'll allow this match to happen.
Because Tyler Bate and back when he was Walter, had a fantastic match back on NXT UK Takeover Cardiff, from what I remember. Yeah, that was a fantastic match. So throw Pete Dunne in there too. Man, you could have quite the triple threat right there. And Tyler Bate is getting ready to go to the main roster. So, there's definitely the chance they could happen just for the IC title. Throw it onto like a, Money in the Bank in London. That'd be perfect. I'm just going to point that out.
Yeah. But that's it. That's all I have to really say about this one. One of my favorites.
All right, now we move on to the NXT Women's Championship match. Women's Championship match. So this is a triple threat between Asuka, Nikki Cross, and Ruby Riot. Originally was supposed to be a fatal four-way, but Asuka was so threatened by Ember Moon that she decided to take Ember Moon out so she couldn't compete in the fatal four-way. So it would become a triple threat. And now she has two threats she's not as worried about in Nikki Cross and Ruby Riot. And she literally beat them both and looked like a monster in this match. And I'm going to be honest here. I thought Asuka was a badass. But at the time, being 15 years old, I was very tired of Asuka's winning streak at this time, so I couldn't really appreciate anything Asuka was really doing at this time as much outside of the work with Ember Moon, because I really, to this day, still think Ember Moon should have ended Asuka's undefeated streak, but that's another topic for another time here. All I'll say is that this was still a good match, and I enjoyed it. And yeah, Asuka retained. I rooted for Nikki Cross, ironically. Again, I was sick of Asuka at this time, and I knew how great she was, but I was just like, this has been going on for too long. She's not fucking Goldberg from the 90s. Cut this shit. That was like kind of what I was thinking at the time. So, yeah, I enjoyed it, though. It was a good match. Being fair about it, it was a good match. And, yeah, Asuka's winning streak, looking back on it now, was a cool thing. I can't hate on it too much. The only thing I'll hate on is that Charlotte shouldn't have ended the undefeated streak. Ember Moon made more sense. That's all I gotta say about that. 7 out of 10.
Yeah, for me, this was a great match too. It was fun. It was not. I would say it was a good match. It was a good type of squash match between this, and you see it was kind of too cool that you see Ember Moon already in the top of the arena, just looking down, waiting, so she can fight Asuka. It was pretty fun match. A lot of crazy crap happened, but it was not the best match. But it was a fun mid match to kind of be in the middle of the show for them. So definitely, I'd say 7 too.
So remember in the beginning of this podcast, I mentioned there was a dumb ending, and this is one of them. First things first, I still hate Ruby Soho with a passion, and she was okay in this match, but she didn't really do anything. The point being, it was just really stupid how Nikki Cross was like going for her finisher and about to pin Ruby Riot. There we go. And then it took Asuka. I'm gonna pronounce her name right. Asuka, right? That's how you say it.
Asuka.
Asuka. Okay, anyways, she goes for the rope pin. It takes her about like 10 seconds just to hit her little like counterattack. And I'm like, dude, the referee could have literally just counted 3 and just give it to Nikki Cross for pinning Ruby Riot. And then all of a sudden, Asuka just goes for a roll up, and then that's how the match ends. And I'm like, are you being serious right now? It was solid with Asuka and Nikki Cross and with Ruby Riot as well, but it was just that little thing was like, that's really stupid. Like that should have been a 3, but whatever. I'm just probably just being too picky, just because I saw Ruby and I'm like, oh, match ruined. I don't want to see it, and she still cringed. And on AEW too, I'm gonna give it a 6.
I don't know. I just think of that too. That it was not a roll up. Pretty much, she got kicked in the face, and then Asuka pinned both Nikki and Ruby to kind of win the match. So it's not a roll up, but it was just a double pin.
Either way, it was just really stupid because Nikki could have literally just won that. There was no way the ref should have counted that slow. It was really dumb.
Again, maybe you guys, Berman, you watch NXT at the time, so maybe you can throw in your take. I felt like Asuka's undefeated streak was kind of just getting near that point at this point in time where it was like, all right, we understand she's a badass, she's great, but this undefeated streak is kind of becoming too much now. That's at least what I thought at the time, and I still kind of think that to this day. Like I really feel like Ember Moon at NXT Takeover Brooklyn 3, the pay-per-view after this one, she should have got it done. I really still think about it to this day.
Yeah, I think that's perfectly fine too. Yeah, you can see in this one, it was getting very stale when you see her when you see Asuka fight, because you always know, oh, she's gonna win because she was a monster in the NXT, and that's what a lot of people loved. And I think this was kind of the way saying, well, we don't know a lot how to make her more being more squash or being a monster by just pinning 2 people at once. And I think the ending works, and I think they were just waiting for Ember Moon to take it away for someone else. So I think technically the ending was perfectly fine. I think for a lot of people, Asuka was just being a little stale for her being like the most dominant women's champions ever.
Fair take right there. So, moving on to the next match. NXT Championship match. Bobby Roode. Not Robert Roode, god damn it. Bobby Roode versus Hideo Itami, who is now known as Kenta from New Japan Pro Wrestling. I think this is an incredibly underrated NXT Championship match, and I understand why it's kind of forgotten in the shuffle because we've gotten so many amazing NXT Championship matches throughout the years, whether it's like Andrade versus Aleister Black or Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens versus Finn Balor. I could go off, but there's many, many examples. Ciampa versus Adam Cole, Gargano versus Adam Cole, the trilogy. I could just really go off here. The point being is that there are many, many classic NXT Championship matches, so I get why this is kind of forgotten in the shuffle, but god damn it, this is an amazing match. And I really think the in-ring psychology of it was truly great. And Bobby Roode is just an incredible heel, and I don't understand why WWE aren't booking this guy as, good as he should be booked. Because, truthfully, when he was the TNA World Heavyweight Champion back in 2012, 2011, he fucking killed that. NXT Champion being the glorious NXT Champion. This was a very fun reign. It may not be everyone's favorite reign, but this was a very fun reign. There's a lot you could do with Bobby Roode, in my personal opinion, so I don't get why they're not utilizing him before it's too late. But, yeah, Bobby Roode retains. I was perfectly fine with that. The ending was really, really cool as well. So, overall, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10.
Yeah, this one was very fun. And I was happy because I always liked Hideo Itami in there because you had a lot of fun matches against Finn Balor and a bunch of other people. And this was fun. I always loved Bobby. Bobby Roode. And it sucked that they kind of misused him a lot in WWE, in the main roster. In NXT, he was great. And I do agree with you, Danny. TNA, he was great too. I wish he would maybe go back to TNA and maybe try and maybe do champion stuff or doing something fun. And we can't wait to see that actually if they do that. But this was a fun match. I think it was really good to see, and the entrances great too. I think this was a amazing match to watch. I'd say it was very fun. So for me, I'd probably give it an 8.5. It's fun, and now the only thing I now think about is because of Shibata coming back. I want to see Shibata versus Kenta for that strong title. That sounds like an amazing Forbidden Door match right there. Gotta say, that sounds great to see.
And I'm with you too, because it's kind of a shame that Bobby or Roode or whatever the hell he's called now kind of became like a jobber from what you guys told me after this match, because he was booked like hella strong, even with Kenta going for his technical style. It just wasn't happening. Bobby Roode was just kicking his ass for the entirety of the match. Well, not entirety, but like for a good portion, but it was still thoroughly entertaining because it was kind of seeing like a clash of the styles with like a more technical versus like a power dude or whatever. It was great. I'm glad Bobby Roode took the title, but just knowing the fact that he went from being a monster to basically just a nobody in Raw is kind of sad. So I'll give the match a 9. But I don't think Robbie is ever going to be at his peak ever again unless he leaves his company. And I'm going to stand by that, even with Hunter taking over. But whatever.
Yeah, I can agree with that. So, moving on to the main event. A ladder match for the NXT Tag Team Championships. Again, Triple H cares about tag team wrestling, folks, and it's a beautiful thing because tag team wrestling is not secondary to singles wrestling. I don't know why people recently have said that quite a bit, but I would disagree with it. So, DIY, the challengers, going against the people who beat them for those titles, Authors of Pain. This is a rematch from an NXT TakeOver earlier this year, where DIY lost to Authors of Pain in the first TakeOver of 2017. Then, at the second TakeOver of 2017, it was WrestleMania weekend. And it was an elimination triple threat, also involving the Revival, now known as FTR. But Authors of Pain dominated that match too and beat both teams to retain. So now DIY wanted their one-on-one match, but this time it would be in a match where DIY has the advantage, a ladder match. But even then, with that advantage, Authors of Pain are just too dominant. And they retained the NXT Tag Team Championships in a very good ladder match. Is it incredible or anything? Not really, but it's a very good, very fun ladder match in my opinion. And I think it's solid enough to main event the pay-per-view. So I will talk about what happened after the match, after these guys talk about the match itself. But what I'll say about the match, it was very good. It's not the best tag team championship match compared to some of the others you would see earlier within that year or in 2016, but I think it's still very good. I can't really complain about it too much. And overall, I'm going to have to give it 7.5 out of 10. I thought about giving it an 8, but it's a strong 7.5 out of 10.
Yeah, this was the same thing to me. It was great. It was a great match. The ending was probably the better thing. What happened after the match, but the match was fun. It just shows how brutal Authors of Pain were, and it's the same thing kind of happens with Bobby Roode. Roode is that the Authors of Pain were so dominant in NXT, but in like the main roster, they didn't do a lot. They won the title. They won the titles, I think, once, but they didn't do really anything big to it. They were with Seth Rollins in his Messiah group, I would say, but like still didn't do anything really massive. So it kind of wasted an opportunity for the Authors of Pain, really. But this match was fun. Definitely, I give it for me a 7.5. It was a good way to end the pay per view.
You see, I hate to be that guy, to be a negative Nancy, but I really enjoyed it, and I will go for the fact that Gargano and Ciampa, excuse me, were doing some sick bunts, including like going from the top ropes and slamming both of those big dudes into the ladders, and then they kind of broke them. It was just chaos after chaos. Like, it was a fun little container thing, but I can't help to think that halfway, no, it was like towards the end of the match, or was it half? It was like somewhere around that area. That at one point Gargano was like hanging off from like the tag title thing or whatever for a tank. He's just hanging there, and I'm thinking, dude, you could literally just pull the titles down and you're gonna win this easily. And this happened twice throughout the match. So I'm like, dude, you're strong enough. All you have to do is just pull the titles from that stupid hanger, and they don't do it. And then that hesitation ends up costing them the match because the Authors of Pain basically they powerbomb both of them, and then Ciampa's gonna be like, you know what, fuck you, Gargano, we lost because of you, and I'm like, no, no, you could have easily helped them. It wasn't Gargano's fault. It was both of your faults because you're both stupid, and he had no reason to turn on Gargano. But whatever, I'm gonna give it a 7 because of that critique. That really pissed me off because that was so stupid. I'm like, dude, use logic. Whatever, I'm done.
I mean,
I'm
it
sorry.
kind of makes sense. You rated it a 7, you said?
A 7. It's good. It's just the ending is just so triggering to watch because it's like stupid shit like that. And it's just wrestling, but like just use logic. You could literally win right there, but whatever. I'm just being too nitpicky.
Got it,
And then
got
Ciampa
it.
just be like, "This is your fault," and I'm like, "Whatever. You're both stupid."
Yeah, so I think that for what it was, um, the again, the betrayal was fantastic, in my opinion. And yeah, I kind of get what you're saying, but knowing that it led to probably the best feud in NXT history, it's fair. It's fair.
That's fine. It's just
So
that it just bugs me so much when I see
no,
that
yeah,
shit.
I get it. And deep down, and that's the reason Ciampa claims that Gargano cost him the tag titles. But do you want to know the real truth? Deep down, he wouldn't admit it, but I think he was actually bitter that he lost in that Cruiserweight Classic Round 1 match to Johnny Gargano and didn't forget about it. And that's the real reason deep down. Jealousy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that too. It was just a complete jealousy. That's a perfect way to say it. And I do love the ending too with the betrayal. It was the best ending and 100% the best real rivalry of NXT start. It was great ending and the best rivalry they ever had too. So can't wait to see that maybe bring it into the main roster maybe.
Hmm.
Any thoughts you have, Chris, on the whole betrayal and I guess you could say the feud they had after this?
Like, I'm not saying that the outcome of this match it led to a very good trilogy. It's just the fact that the way they ended, they could have done it a little better. I don't know. Maybe Gargano really did do something else besides hanging in there like an idiot. But whatever, I'll forgive it because literally that's one of the best trilogies in NXT. You said, and probably I think it was like the first time I got back into wrestling, if I'm not correct, when we
I
used to
got
work
you back in
together.
the wrestling through that feud. Yeah, through the story.
So there you go.
So yeah, it's a powerful, powerful feud. One of the best modern feuds in wrestling history, easily. So yeah, overall, I thought the show was a great show. You get great wrestling. 5 matches, it goes by the whole show goes by very fast. It's a great show. So, it's very easy to go back, watch it, enjoy it. And is it a masterpiece? No, but I thought it was a great NXT takeover. And I'm going to have to give it an 8.5 out of 10. It was able to live up to the NXT takeover standard. And what is the NXT takeover standard? In my opinion, that's an 8 out of 10 or above. So if this pay-per-view lives up to that standard, then, it's a pretty good show.
Yeah, same thing. I always give it an 8.5. It was great. One of the great NXT takeovers.
I'm with you. I'll give it an 8.5 too. Not really complaints, just me being nitpicky with some of the endings, but it was really solid through and through.
Yeah. So that's our retro review for April. As for May, we haven't quite decided what we're doing yet, but I have a pretty good idea of what we're going to do. And if we do that show, you guys are going to be pretty hyped to see it, I bet. So thank you all so much for watching. I've been Daniel.
I've been Berman.
It'll be Chris.
Please hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. It'll really help us. Leave a comment as well. It'll help us in this algorithm. And yeah, take it easy, folks.